What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad the Side. And Tad, we're giving the people what we promised, because in our last episode, we were sort of talking about some small school guys. We were like, we haven't gotten into the film yet and the combine results as it was going on when we were recording that episode. Well, now the combine's over. You and me have both dove in to the combine videos, and I have watched the DVR recordings and went through everything.
Dived,
dip, duck,
dodge, dive. Right? Yeah, just it works.
We're able to go through, look through all the combine participants and see who did well, who did not do well, who participated, who didn't participate. Just overall, just have a good analysis and recap of everything that happened in Indianapolis with the NFL Combine. And so, yeah, that is pretty much today's episode. We're going to be going into winners and losers from the Combine. But just, Tad, overall, how was your, opinion of the Combine overall, I guess I should say?
Man, I'm becoming such a grudging old man, because the more I watch the combine, I'm like, this isn't football, and we'll get into this later. But there are certain things to take away from it. It is. There's a lot we're gonna get into later, but the measurements I always find funny, because it's like, oh really, Georgia? This guy's 6'4", and now all of a sudden he's 6'2". Like, what happened there? Just didn't drink his milk that day.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a lot of good that can come from the combine too. It is always cool seeing, the smaller school guys in particular, like you mentioned, make a name for themselves. It's usually the bigger school guys that are like, oh my God, this guy looks amazing. And it's like, yeah, of course he does. There's a reason he's a first rounder. So overall, the combine is interesting to watch. But what I'm really excited for will be kind of like the pro days and more of like the interviews, and as it gets a little bit more prospect intensive. Now I will say, it was weird watching all these receivers slip around like it was a Super Bowl. I've never seen that at the combine before. I don't know what happened there, but I don't know if they brought in the same sod people from Arizona to replace the turf in Indianapolis, but that was weird. I've never seen a receiver faceplant like a couple of them did at the combine this year.
It wasn't just the receivers. There were some other positions that, depending on the drill, I saw this with defensive backs where they had to plant and make adjustments, obviously, and that it wasn't as clean as probably you would have seen in past years. So that was interesting to see for sure. But yeah, I think you take the combine with a grain of salt, exactly like you laid out, where it's just with some of the bigger name prospects, I think you expect them to perform well. It's more of just those smaller school guys and the guys just you haven't heard of. If they have a good showing, then it's okay, now he's on my radar to either, be on a team's particular big board now to go investigate more film. That's definitely what me and Tad have done. Some guys that perform well. A guy that I'm going to bring up a little bit later, I definitely need to watch some of his film after his combine performance. But it's more exactly like I said, just more benefiting the guys that just A, you never heard of, or B, went to smaller schools, but it just the exposure is not as high as a Georgia, a Clemson, Ohio State sort of thing.
Or cool stories like Hendon Hooker, where Hooker got the go ahead, hey, he will be good to go for next year. That did miles for his stock and stuff like that. Where oh God, who was the player where they found a heart condition at the combine?
Trey Smith, right?
Was it Trey Smith? Yeah. So it's just stuff like that,
he had lung conditions. The offensive lineman out of Tennessee.
Yeah, there was some player who had a heart condition or something like that. But yeah, it's stuff like that. That's obviously not that example, but on the opposite end, Hendon Hooker, where it's no. He's good. He's good. He could go as high as the second round now. That really, really helped his stock.
Exactly. So combine's fun to watch, but yeah, definitely, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, because some of the things these prospects need to improve, you need to see it against another person. You can't just do it unopposed here. That's one of my biggest slights with the combine. It's just you're doing it unopposed. It's of course you're going to look a little bit better, but yeah, if you're going against somebody, and they're always looking to improve the combine too, so maybe that's something they can eventually introduce, going against another person.
Do the practice thing. Just chase them with pads. We're not
saying
a
7-on-7 drill or something like that. yeah, there's things that they could do. So hopefully they figure it out. So that's my only slight with the combine here. But you know who I never have a slight with, Tad? And that's our partners at Bet Online, because they remain your number one source for all your sports betting needs all season long. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, MMA, esports, tennis, boxing, golf. I mean, they got you covered on all fronts there. So, I mean, really, just like if you want to bet on it, BetOnline has you covered there. So head to BetOnline today on your computer or mobile device. Join and receive a 50% of a welcome bonus on top of your first deposit. All you got to do is use our promo code BELIEVE. That's capital BLEAV. And you can receive a 50% of a welcome bonus on top of your first deposit. All you got to do is use our promo code. Once again, that promo code is BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, and you can receive your rewards. So BetOnline, where the games start. So, Tad, we already mentioned it in the intro here. We're going to be getting into our combine analysis. You know, we have some winners, we have some losers. We went to a bunch of different position groups here. So, Tad, I'm going to pass it to you here first. Give me a winner from the NFL combine as far as who improved their stock.
So real quick, before our viewers, those watching on YouTube, is like, what the hell was Tad doing? I was giving a shout out to the XFL and my Battlehawks. If you like to bet on my boy, AJ McCarron, Battlehawks MVP, XFL MVP, that is where you can do it. So let me say this, Amir. I don't know about your approach, but my approach was I want to avoid the obvious winners.
Oh, of course.
So guys like Anthony Richardson, yes, he won. Like that, he was easily the best quarterback in the draft. Everybody knows that. He probably solidified himself in the top 10 after
easily.
One guy that like I knew he was a freak. Everybody knew he was a freak. I didn't know he was this much of a freak. Nolan Smith, holy shit. That is a man's man. Like that
Nolan
dude is
Smith
scary.
out of the University of Georgia definitely put on a show. And yeah, he definitely raised a lot of eyebrows. And yeah, definitely is on every team's radar for sure now.
That dude was 30, 40 pounds heavier. So again, it was kind of funny watching. He was one of the players that shrunk because that's one of his big hangups is like he's a physical freak. He's smaller for your traditional, NFL edge rusher. So Georgia listed him as 6'3". He came in actually as 6'2". They had him, to Georgia's credit, they had him at 238. I believe
just
the combine
curious about these colleges like measuring sticks. It's like, are they add an extra foot, then that's where the measuring starts? Like, I have no idea.
There has to be like some equation of just
measuring
like,
on like a hill or something like that, where the measuring guy's lower than the player standing up a little higher. Like, I have no idea.
It's like the basketball combine where it's like with shoes and without shoes.
Exactly.
Like, just put on these Jordans. It'll just get you up there.
Oh, geez.
But I mean, this dude tested off the charts. He absolutely because he was one of those guys where it's like he should be a first rounder. I've said this for a while. He should be a first rounder, but will he be because of his size? I was always worried about that because NFL teams are obsessed with size and stuff like that. This is the type of performance where it solidifies him in the first round. Now, do I think he's going to go top 15? That would shock me. But I mean, you look at a team like, I don't know, Chargers, who apparently, despite what, Chargers at 21, despite what CEO Ryan Dyrou believes, apparently Khalil Mack may be on his way out. I have no idea. I believed it. And then we talked, last night we had a meeting and he was like, that's BS. I was like, okay. But even if Khalil Mack doesn't go, that contract is way too big for way too long. Finding a successor for him at 21 where your roster doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, not the worst idea.
Well, I think, Tad, just the really big thing, too, with the Chargers is that we saw this in the playoff game with the Jaguars, where it's like they got into a big lead. The defense couldn't do anything to prevent Jacksonville to score in the second half. And what do you need to sort of do that? Pass rush. So even if Khalil Mack stays with the Chargers, it never hurts to have extra pass rush.
Never can have
rotational packages, as starters, whatever it is. So, yeah, the fact that Nolan Smith absolutely balled out the combine, Chargers definitely need to give them a serious look at 21.
They should. They absolutely should. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me. I think I'm stealing Chauncey. Or not Chauncey. Who was it? I'm stealing Stephen Hagelin. I think I'm stealing Stephen Hagelin's take here. But trading up for him isn't the craziest idea. Like trading up too far is the craziest idea for them. But trading up like to kind of what the Lions did with Jameson Williams last year, where they traded up like what was that, like 11 picks or something like that, like
something along those lines. Yeah,
not the worst idea. Like go up to 13, 14 if you really want him. They could use him. Because like you said, like Joey Bosa, he was let's be real, he was kind of a bonehead and was like getting the team in a lot of trouble. So you literally take the pressure off him, add on some more pass rushers there. It's not,
and also you take the playoff game aside from that, he was injured most of the season. So it's like there's one of your pass rush guys gone. So it's like it never hurts, like I said, to have that depth, to have some rotational guys to come in at the pass rush position.
And so Nolan, especially because Nolan Smith coming in the NFL at 235, we've been saying this the past couple episodes. You bulk up, like exactly. You just need time to do that. So that gives him time to be like, hey,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you'll be a good situational guy for us in the meantime. You bulk up, then when we boot Khalil Mack out, probably next offseason, you'll hopefully be ready to go. So it's a name worth looking out for the Chargers.
Yeah. So even though we weren't
going to talk about let's get to my
Nolan Smith for a little bit here, but let's actually get to our actual picks here.
He did so well.
No, I know. We had to spend a little bit of time on him, but yeah, give me your actual one of your picks, a non-Nolan Smith, the non-Anthony Richardson pick that you like here as far as improving their stock.
The reason I'm smiling like this is because he's a winner, and I'm going to talk about this in a very bitter fashion. So I'm going to try not to be too bitter about it, but I had to be unbiased to some degree. He won. And I knew he was going to win. I knew it too. Like, I knew this was a guy that people were like, oh my God, he's amazing. Because I'll get into this. It's Will Levis. And here's the reason I'm a little bitter. It's because with all this Jalen Carter thing that has gone down, I think the Colts' chances of trading up to number 1 are close to nil. I think that the Bears are going to get better offers from other teams. Doesn't really seem like Ballard's really all that convinced that he needs to trade up to 1 because he's a moron. So Bryce Young will probably be gone. So at number 4, the question is, do they go CJ Stroud or do they go Will Levis? And this is the kind of, performance that, you look at the combine, that stuff actually does affect performance. So you look at actually how he did in the drills, it was fine. He had, I think the 5th best vertical jump among quarterbacks. And I will say this, by the way, he was very smart. He avoided the 40-yard dash. He set that out, which is smart. Because he's been hyped up. Will Levis has been hyped up as this like big time athlete. So if you run anything less than like a 4.6 or anything more than 4.6, I guess more.
I think more.
How's that work? More? Okay. Anything more than a 4.6, you're screwed, right? It does nothing but hurt you. So he was very smart to do that. So the drills don't really matter here. And this is the moment where this is actually when we were recording our last episode, was when he was doing his throwing drills. And the entire time I was like, this is why, you kept seeing me like doing this. He looked so good. He did. I'm not going to lie. He had one bad underthrow. His first long pass was a horrific underthrow. Receiver still caught it, so it wasn't obviously that bad. Second one was a little better. Third one, he nailed it. I'm like, oh, here we go. And then after every throw after that, he started nailing throw after throw after throw. And like, just like he just looks good throwing a football. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not a fan of him, but as a player, I'm sure as a person, you're a great person. But yeah, I just knew that he would look good doing this. And it's so frustrating because now everyone's like, he looks really, really good. No shit, he looks good. Because the whole thing with him is he has all the physical tools. Everybody is saying that about him. It's when he gets pressured, he starts collapsing. So kind of like what we talked about earlier, bring in those mats. I want to see him rolling out. I want to see him like kind of, what can you do even under that little bit of pressure? So of course he looked good. But I'm worried that, people buy in all these BS stats. I don't know if you saw this, Amir. He threw for one of the balls he threw was 59 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So that's higher than Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. The only 2 quarterbacks, one of these actually surprised me, by the way. The only 2 quarterbacks that have thrown harder over the last 7 years has been Josh Allen. So that one wasn't that surprising. You want to guess who the other one was?
Josh Rosen.
Yeah, that would be a shocker. See, now you same draft though.
Sam Darnold?
Baker.
Oh, Baker. Okay.
I know. It's kind of surprising, right? I was like, really? But yeah, Baker top 60. So it's just stuff like that. He's a winner. His stock is now definitively, not that it was ever really in doubt, but is now definitively top 7, probably top 5. And God damn it, he's going to be a Colt. And I'm going to take back. We are deleting this episode once they draft him.
And I think, like I said, this is the big thing that I sort of have as far as the slight with the combine. It's just like he's doing this, like you said, there's no pressure coming at him. So it's like the tape that I've seen of Will Levis is that when he has a clean pocket, he could make
He's
these
great.
throws. He can make
He's
the tight
amazing.
window throws. He can make the deep throws. But just, when he had a little bit of pressure on him, you could see him get a little bit off platform and not have these clean throws, not set his base as properly, throwing. Yeah, it's great that you're throwing the ball 59 miles per hour or whatever, but it's like I saw that a lot on short swing passes. So it's like you can't do that. So it's like some of these things you can't always see at a combine. But yeah, it's still impressive that he did that, especially when a guy like Bryce Young didn't throw, that it's like that puts more pressure on the quarterbacks that are throwing. So yeah, with Levis and Stroud obviously participating, that's sort of a key as far as teams will be enamored by what he did at the combine there for sure. So yep, I mark him as a winner for sure with those throwing drills. I'm going to switch over to the defensive side of the ball here, though, and I'm going to go with Deonte Banks, the defensive back out of Maryland.
Is a great pick.
Ran a 4.35 40-yard dash, had a 42 vertical leap, had 11'4" broad jump, tied for third among all defensive backs. So, I mean, yeah, he definitely tested out of the building for sure. His expectations were more than met with those numbers. Going to the position drills, he just looked really smooth. You can see the hip transition. You can see him planting his feet properly. I think the only thing that sort of worried me a little bit, but there's a reason that he plays defensive back, is that his hands were not always clean. He ran through the gauntlet drill. He didn't run as fast as I was expecting him to. You're supposed to go a little bit faster with gauntlet drill. He was sort of taking a jogging pace. He wasn't going that fast. And then, yeah, he did catch every ball thrown his way. But like I said, he's a defensive back. He doesn't need to catch every ball thrown his way. But just overall, with a solid pro day as well, if he could couple that with an impressive combine showing here, he could definitely not only slip into the first round, but be one of the top 5 defensive backs taken in this draft with an impressive performance that. So it's we'll see how it all plays out, obviously. But yeah, I think the top 3 is kind of solidified with your Christian Gonzalez, your Devin Witherspoon, and the third, actually, I'd probably say the top 2.
I was about to say third's pretty up in the air.
I was trying to think about a third one right now, and I was like, I don't think there's a third one. I think it's the top 2
a guy
solidified.
A guy that we're about to bring up is my third, which is
so yeah, I think there's a lot of wiggle room between that spots 3 to 5. And yeah, I think Deonte Banks with an impressive showing here at the combine, like I said, coupled with an impressive pro day, easily could slip into that top 5. But yeah, he had a really great showing at the combine for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be shameless to admit it. I'm being a hypocrite here because I'm like, come on, so people overreact to it. But Banks is one of those guys where I have watched a little bit of his stuff, and I liked what I saw. I wasn't like, oh, this guy's great. But now that he tested really well, I'm like, I love him. I'm like, this is great. and this happens every year with me is, I don't know if you do this too, but there's always one, in this specific position too, there's always one late first round corner that I love. And I'm like, I don't understand why this guy is not getting more love. Last year was Tyson, or was that last year or 2 years ago with Tyson Campbell?
2 years ago was Tyson Campbell.
2 years ago was Tyson Campbell. I'm trying to remember who it was last year. Unfortunately, 3 or 4 years ago was DeAndre Baker, who would have worked if he wasn't a fucking idiot. But there's always this corner that I'm like, I cannot believe that they are not being considered top 15. I think Banks is my guy this year. Like you said, I think he was, because this is a deep corner class. This is hard. He had to show up. This was the very definition of a clutch performance because he was on the edge of maybe he could sneak in there. And now I'm like, I honestly would be shocked if he slipped to the second round at this point. And another reason why, because we talked about this when we did our top 10 mock draft. And yes, I'm biased because this fits into what I mocked to them at 10. But Eagles take a pass rusher at 10. This is the perfect guy for them to take at 31. That's just not fair. Because it's one of those, well, I guess it's 30, not 31. Thanks, Dolphins. That's going to be so confusing.
No, it's 31, not 32. Thanks, Dolphins. Do some math, buddy.
No, it's 31 because they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you're saying it's 30, not 31. It's actually 31.
Yes, well, because the Dolphins lost. The Dolphins lost a first round pick, so they're only 30 round picks in this year's draft.
Yeah, but there's 32 teams in the NFL, you dingus.
But that's what I'm saying. There are 31 picks in the first round because the Dolphins forfeited their first round pick.
Whatever, move on.
No, we are not whatever. I just proved you wrong. We are not brushing over this.
No, yeah. Check back the tape when we finish this episode.
We're Screenshots are coming onto the Side Guys Twitter
Oh,
account,
go
which,
for
by
it.
the way,
Go
you
for
can
it.
find in the ticker below. But anyway, I think that like the Eagles will be a perfect fit for him. Honestly, the Chiefs still need some secondary help. Like, it's kind of the same thing like we were talking about with pass rushers with Nolan Smith. You can never have too many, and it's O-line and corners. There's plenty of need in the 20s. I think he solidified his stock as a first round pick.
For sure. For sure. So let's get to another winner here, Tad. Who's another guy that you think improved their stock at the NFL Combine here?
Look, it's the easy pick, but I gotta go for it. Darnell Washington. I mean, this dude, it's not fair.
I mean, just easily, it's that one-handed grab and that end zone leave. Like, I mean, that just sort of solidified a lot of things for a lot of people.
We're making fun of like measurements and how they change. His measurements didn't change. This dude's just like, he is literally Frankenstein. I think that's going to be my nickname for him, is Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, shut up. Like, I love this guy. Like, it was funny because I had the same concerns everybody else did coming in this weekend of like, oh, how good of a pass catcher is he? And I was actually very interested to watch his tape because I was like, if he's catching a lot of stuff like against his chest, that's a red flag to me.
Oh yeah. 100%.
He didn't really do that. He did a couple times, but he didn't really do that all that much. And like you said, and by the way, guys, if you haven't, just go on Twitter, type in Darnell Washington combine catch. It's insane. He makes a great one-handed catch. So he also ran a 4.64 40, which is just insane for a tight end. And here's another insane thing. That was the 5th best tight end 40. These guys are just like insane now. So he is in the deepest position of the entire draft. And I think he really he might have dethroned Dalton Kincaid as the second best tight end in this year's draft because of his performance. I really do mean that. Because I think, like I say, he quieted down a lot of doubts, because my doubt was, how good of a pass catcher are you? Because like, why didn't Georgia use you more? Honestly, I think it's just because like they were like, okay, we have this physical freak, and honestly, Brock Bowers is so good anyways, we don't really need to use him. So I'm not saying Georgia utilized him wrong. I just don't think they utilized him as much as they could have, which isn't bad. I mean, they just fucking kicked my team's ass in the national championship. What the hell do I know? But I think that he really proved like, no, I am a passer. I can do this. So I don't think he quite is solid in the first round. Honestly, I think it would kind of surprise me if he went in the first round, but I think being the second tight end off the board is well within the realm of possibility now.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I don't see more than 2 tight ends going in the first round, possibly.
I don't see
like
one.
Even that, I 100% think 1 will go. But yeah, that 2 is sort of the thing that's sort of like you said, if it's over under 1.5, 1.5. If it's over under 2.5, I'd probably go with the under. But yeah, the over is like, I don't think that would happen. Like, especially with the defensive back class the way it is, with the quarterbacks going in the top 10, like that's definitely going to push some positions down for sure. The receivers, like there's good depth there. So it's just like, but yeah, I think he could be the second tight end off the board. But just, yeah, I'm not 100% sure whether he'd be a first rounder either. But yeah, really improved his stock for sure. And actually, I'm going to stay at the position because we talked about how deep this tight end position class is. And I'm going to go with the guy, Tad. I don't know if you've probably even heard of this guy before the combine, which is, like I said, the benefit of the combine for some of these players. Zach Kuntz, the tight end out of Old Dominion.
Naturally. What's their mascot? Do you know?
It's Monarchs, I believe.
Oh, shit. I thought it was the Tigers. Damn it. Apparently, I didn't even know.
It's not even a tiger, dude. It's a lion.
Oh, God damn it.
But anyway, so you're talking about a physical freak in Darnell Washington coming in at 6'7", and I think, like, what'd you say? I think 255, or what was his?
Yeah, it was like mid 250s.
Yeah, so Zach Kuntz comes in at the same exact measurements. He's 6'7", 255 as well. He ran a 4.55 40-yard dash, had a 40-inch vertical leap, and he had a 10'8" broad jump. Like, I mean, impressive numbers, like I said, for a guy of his size. So it's like, here's the one thing, though, with Zach Kuntz is that he's not going to be anywhere near the top of the list when it comes to tight ends. He's definitely a very developmental prospect. Old Dominion didn't use him a lot. I still have to go watch a lot of his film. But yeah, unfortunately in 2022, he had a season-ending injury. Old Dominion, for some reason, didn't disclose exactly what the injury was. So we still have to wait to see exactly what that injury was, but he only played in 4 games in 2022. So that's why it's very important for a player of Zach Kuntz's sort of like, injury history, I guess, like I said, recent injury history too, that if you can come to the combine and have an impressive showing, it's like putting away all doubts. That's like, oh, is this guy still nagging with some sort of injury or anything like that? No, he sort of put that all aside. He ran through the drills really impressively. He showed good receiving ability. Fortunately, I think because of his size, his blocking, I think he's using more brute strength as opposed to good technique. So I think once again, that's something you can easily coach up. And the crazy thing too, Tad, is that as I was watching the recording that I have, it's so great because I brought up this guy in our last episode, Tucker Kraft. I got to watch Tucker Kraft followed by this guy, Zach Kuntz. And I was just like, God, this is just a great duo to watch.
It's insane.
Go after each other in the position drill specifically. So I mean, it's just like, yeah, we've talked about this many a time, but this tight end class is really, really deep. So if you could draft a guy like Zach Kuntz later, like on day 2, possibly early day 3 as a developmental piece, like, I mean, I think you got yourself a potential starting tight end as long as you get you can develop him right and refine all of his abilities there, because I think he has it. He definitely showcased that at the combine.
You know what team he's going to go to with this recent, like, this guy's probably going to get cut news? This motherfucker's definitely going to be a Patriot.
Yeah, there's talk about them releasing Jonnu Smith possibility. There's a possibility.
They should. Did you see how much money that dude is owed? They absolutely
he has not been putting out the production to sort of, warrant that kind of money that he's sort of getting for sure. So yeah, it very much could be a possibility that he could end up in New England.
Damn it.
Yeah, wherever he goes, he's definitely not a plug and play starter. There's a lot of things he needs to work on for sure. But yeah, you have to be tantalized by that size and build and just, like you said, very similar with Darnell Washington. Unfortunately, he didn't go to as big a school as Washington did because he went to Georgia. But yeah, you see this and you see the sort of numbers that he put up. It's like you have to be, crazy to like overlook this guy now.
And I'm so glad you said that because and this is gonna sound conceited, but it's a lot, because I promise you a lot of scouts are doing the same thing where, yes, I actually had heard of his name before the combine. Was I gonna watch this tape anytime soon? No, he is the type of guy I would watch like a week before the draft and prep for like, oh shit, we got we have to talk to A3 guys. I gotta make sure I at least know something about him. And now all of a sudden, because of his good performance, I'm like, no, I'll watch it. I mean, I won't watch him like, tomorrow. He wasn't that great, but I definitely will like set time aside and be like, I need to watch this guy. And scouts do that of like, especially with small school guys, of guys like, yeah, we'll get to him eventually. And all of a sudden blows up the comments like, all right, tape. And some poor interns like running out, try and find the Lions or Tigers or wherever the hell they are. And like try and find the tape there. And whatever. So this was a great performance for him. And I will say, I know I kind of poo-pooed on the combine earlier, but this is a great example of the combine being great. Like that was awesome.
Exactly. So let's get to guys that hurt their stock.
Let's go negative. We're too positive.
Let's get to the flip side here.
Let's start to the lights.
Give me a guy that just unfortunately did not help their stock with the combine performance that they had.
I mean, you want to talk about small school? I don't even know if it counts as small school. I don't even know if it counts as school. First off, I salute your service. Nothing against you, buddy. Who did Andre Carter shit the bed? That was, I think he might be the biggest loser from the entire combine, if I'm being totally honest. Like, my God. And I know I see a lot. Oh, God. This is why I didn't want to pick him. Because, like, I really do appreciate that he is in the service and everything. But I'm sorry, buddy. I got to be totally honest here. A lot of people are making excuses for him. I am so going to get Twitter hate for this. Because of his Army service, he was not allowed to, like, go to these one-on-one camps where, prospects train weeks and weeks and weeks for the combine.
Right.
Even with that said, though, you only bench press 11. Like, you can't bench press at home, dude. Like, it's one of those things. So he was,
or when you're at training, like, I mean, the Army, they make you run drills and stuff like that. It's like, come on, there must be some chance to work in the weight room. I have no idea though.
You said it, not me. You said it. But yeah, he had a bad vertical, a bad broad jump. Like, he just tested horrifically. And plus, people really aren't sure where to play him anyway. Is he like the more of the coverage outside linebacker? Is he more the pass rush outside linebacker? And here's a crazy stat I did not actually know until I started researching for this episode. For a guy whose stats dropped from 15.5 sacks in 2021 to 3.5 this last season, you got to show up at the combine. That's so true. You had that drop in production, and then you test horribly. I'd be shocked if he went in the second. He was a borderline first rounder, definite second rounder before the combine. Now, I'd be shocked if he went before the third.
Yeah, no, it's tough when you put up those types of numbers, and just for what I heard, he didn't do all that well at the drills either. So it's
No,
just
he did
like,
not. He looked
yeah,
slow. He looked his agility looked bad. It was like I said, like his vertical and his broad jump both were like I'm not gonna say terrible because it's not like he ranked in like bottom 3, but it's
right.
just like it didn't jump off at you, and you were just like, I mean, again with that bench press, I know it's stupid and like, but like 11's really bad for a linebacker.
Yeah, 100%. And I know there's a lot of people that sort of say that it's like the combine is a little bit hard to tell because it's like they're waking these guys up so early, then they have to do their measurements and they have to do all these interviews, and then they do the drills. It's just like one continuous, like, it's hard for them to sort of like rest and sort of be prepared when they do these drills. So it's like maybe you could chalk it up to that, but still, it's
You're
like
in the army. What else
I
do they
know.
do when you're in the army? Like,
You said it on
I'm
me.
sorry.
I'm
I'm
sorry. I'm
sorry.
gonna turn
I
it back
really
on you.
do feel bad doing this, but like, oh, I am so scared of this take. Like, this is the most terrified I've been on this podcast in weeks. But no, it's just it's one of those things I just like, come on, man. I want to cheer for him. I want to so badly, but like, damn, you're not making it easy.
Yeah, no, it's tough for sure. You have to put up more impressive numbers for sure if you want to be in that conversation to be a first rounder. Like, I mean, even at the combine, where you're sort of thrown into like a mess of a situation where it's like you wake up early and you have to go to sleep late and you have to do all these things in between with your position drills. It's like, yeah, you need to be a little bit more prepared. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out for Andre Carter the second. But I'm going to go with a guy who actually didn't even participate at the drills. And before the Heat comes after me, I still think he's going to be the number one quarterback taken off the board, but just Bryce
Yeah.
Young.
Yeah. No, we
Bryce
gotta talk
Young.
about
Like, I
this.
mean,
Yeah.
here's the big knock on him, right? It's his make and build. The fact that he measured in at 5'10 and 1/8. Got to throw in the 1/8 there,
Right.
and
So
204
important.
pounds. Exactly. So it's just like he's coming in undersized, under 6 foot, right? Like that's usually like the bar for a quarterback position. Even 6 foot, it's like you're sort of toying with it there a little bit. So it's like we've seen some exceptions here. Russell Wilson has obviously had a pretty good career. We'll see what happens now with Sean Payton at the helm in Denver. Kyler Murray, it's like, I don't know, hit or miss. He did win
Let's
Rookie
see.
of the Year,
Well, it
but it's
depends.
like
Are they playing COD that weekend?
but I mean, he still has looked pretty good at times, but just like overall, it's just the success rate has just not been all that great. And especially thrown to the fact that he's a little bit undersized as far as the weight is concerned, too. It's like you worry about the durability. And then on top of that, you decide not to throw. So it's like, even with all those measurements, it's like if you decide to participate in the throwing aspect and you could have sort of like put aside all the sort of like people, how teams perceive you as far as like, can we really trust this guy? Like, I mean, I know the tape is really good, but it's like for you to see it again to sort of just reinforce what you've seen on the tape consistently all season long in 2022. It's like you sort of needed to do that because, yes, I know he's going to throw it his pro day, but Tad, we've talked about the pro day. It's sort of like very structured. It's going to make the prospects look good.
It's a
Very
fashion show. It's a fashion
exactly.
show.
It's organized in such a way, like I said, that all the prospects are going to be able to showcase what they do well, and that's how it's going to make them look a lot better for all these prospective teams. Because then that makes the college looks good, right? That's like, oh, we have a NFL prospect factory here that helps them with the recruiting, right? So it's like these things are, like you said, a dog and pony show. I think you mentioned that on one of our previous episodes before, right? So it's like, yeah, he'll look better with the receivers that he's used to practicing with the familiarity of being in the same vicinity of where he went to school for the past handful of years, right? So it's like all that comfortability is going to make him look better, a lot better at his pro day. Whereas if you throw him into, like we talked about with Andre Carter, it's like you throw him into a situation where it's like, yeah, he's got to wake up at different times. He's got to do all these things in between a positional drill that could possibly throw him off his game a little bit. And then on top of that, you perform well. Then it's sort of reinforcing the fact, like I said, that's like, yes, I need to be the first quarterback taken, regardless of my make and build. Like, put that all aside. I'm the guy you want, right? So the fact that he didn't do that, like I said, I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock. Just personally for me, I wanted to see him like double down, be like, no, I'm throwing. I'm going to prove all the doubters wrong and really just make myself solidify the case that I'm the first quarterback off the board, possibly the first player off the board.
Okay, so you brought up a lot of things I want to talk about. We're running a little long, so I have to talk this through this quickly. First off, should I go funny analysis first or serious analysis first?
Go with whatever direction you want to go. Let's go funny.
All right, I'll go serious first. Let's
Okay,
get serious out of the way. We can end on funny.
All
So
right.
serious now is first. The throwing. I love that you brought this up, although it's becoming less of an issue just because so many quarterbacks are opting out now. That's no longer that big of a deal if they do.
Yeah.
But here's what drives me nuts about them opting out. And I'd love to own this take like it's my own. But Mel Kiper talked about this a couple of years ago. Is scouts understand that you're not familiar with these receivers. They get that, like, if something seems a little off, as long as you like kind of hit them, no one's really going like, that was bad.
When you get drafted, you never played with those guys before either. So it's like, you need to see that.
Well, and a perfect example of this is, like I said, back with my Will Levis, segment was Will Levis. That underthrow was pretty bad. No one is talking about that underthrow because everybody kind of gets that, like, all right, dude, like it's literally your first long throw of the day. So yes, of course, you gotta warm it up a bit. Second off, you've never thrown to this person in your entire life. And so it's just like the scouts understand that. And so I'm right there with you. I love the gutsiness of guys. I was shocked that Levis agreed to throw. I honestly was. I didn't think he was going to. So I think more quarterbacks just need to, frankly, nut up, stop being a bitch, and just go out there and throw. You miss, like, if you're truly that confident in your ability that you're like, I should go number one overall, then you shouldn't be missing receivers that badly that like last anyone's head. And if you do, well, then maybe you shouldn't be going number one overall. It's just one of those things where I'm like, no, you just gotta go for it. So I'm right there with you. The height thing again, this is kind of the reason why one of those things with the combine where I'm just like, why do we do this? I'm like, he's tiny. It's like, didn't we all already know he was tiny? Yeah, but he's really tiny. He's an inch shorter than we thought he was. Like, it's not that whatever. But no, the funny analysis I want to bring up. Did you see what Mina Kimes did to him? Not her fault. It is not her fault. I don't want to like sound like
I
I'm
remember
blaming
seeing
her.
pictures of like her standing with his cardboard cutout, and she was like,
so
"I'm wearing
bad.
4-inch heels and all this stuff."
Yeah,
and like,
that was
I remember all
so
this,
bad because everybody was like, Mina Kimes is taller than Bryce Young, and poor Mina Kimes. And I go on this like apology tour of like I was wearing heels and all this stuff, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, I felt bad for both Bryce Young because that got into his camp and they were like, fucking seriously. And then Mina Kimes saw that blown up on Twitter and she's like, fucking seriously. And it was just like all this whole thing. And like, it's great. I love the combine sometimes. It can be so ridiculous. Do you remember who was it? Didn't one GM one time ask Des Bryant if his mother was a hooker?
I think something like that. I don't remember
Something
exactly.
like that. Like, God, the combine gets weird. I also remember in one of the old Maddens where they ask you all the ridiculous combine questions and like you can't win either way. And you're like, oh, that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. So Tad, let's get to our final picks here for our losers. Let's get through this really quick here. Just who's one more guy that just unfortunately affected their stock in a negative way?
So I've been meaning to learn how to pronounce this guy's name, and I finally did. Kayshon Boutte. It's Boutte. These Cajun names, dude. I'm so bad with them. Look, he only had 2 touchdowns last year, along with only breaking 100 yards twice, going into the year with big time like playmaker expectations. So, okay, man, you didn't do so hot production wise. LSU had kind of up and down year. Maybe it's not all your fault. Let's see how you test. If you test well, congratulations, you're right back in there. And like maybe I don't think he was ever really going in the first round the past couple months, but like maybe he could like sneak up in the top second. He sure should not doing that now. He had a bad combine. Like he did not do well at all. So he's only 5'11", 180. So you need to test quick. You need to be a quick, speedy guy. I'm not talking like 4.3, 4.4 here, but like, come on, man.
And I think the big thing too is that I don't know if you saw this, but on social media, he was talking about like, oh, I need to be the first receiver off the board. I'm going to blow up these measurements. I'm going to be the fastest receiver, all this stuff. And then the performance that he put up, it's like, bro, you can't.
Let's talk about that performance. So, like I say, he ran a 4.5, which isn't terrible, but you would like to see higher. Now, this is something because I saw the 4.5 when I was watching live. This is something I did not know because I missed this. I think he must have done while we were recording. His second attempt, which I know technically doesn't count, but like people still look at that, was a 4.67.
Yeah.
That's horrific for any receiver, especially for a smaller receiver. That is horrific. So 4.67 there. Let me read you all his other drills. He was 39th in the 10-yard split, last in the vertical jump, and second to last in the broad jump. Oh, some teams are like taking him from second down to like fourth and fifth because of this. Like
easily.
He better hope he looks damn good at that LSU Pro Day. Otherwise, like he may be waiting longer than he thinks. Honestly, I think I brought this up. I don't know if it was pre-episode or during the episode. It reminds me a lot of Donovan Peoples-Jones, where it's a guy who just like didn't really kill the pre-draft process, who was really good, but he just like missed out all these opportunities. And that was a guy I thought was going to go in the second or third. He was drafted by Cleveland in the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Butte could be this year's DPG, Peoples-Jones. It's a tough one for me. It's a lot of like hard like sounds. Yeah, it's hard for me.
Tell us something I don't know.
DPJ. There we go. Got it. Nailed it.
On what? Try 40? Try 40? But yeah, no, 100%. Like, I think he's renowned, like, probably one of the biggest losers of the combine. Because, like I said, it's like he was talking a lot of stuff all pre-combine.
And I did not know that, actually.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
And then to follow it up with the performance that he had is just like, come on, man, you really can't do that. And so, like you said, his pro day needs to be off the charts, like to totally erase everything that happened at the combine. So we'll see what happens with it for sure.
You know what you should do? Because we talked about like how manufactured it is anyway. They should engineer and fuck it, bring Joe Burrow back. Let's do it. Bring Joe Burrow back and just make him do the Odell catch like 3 times in a row. Like that'll make Twitter like blow their minds.
Odell catch, throw in like the David Tyree helmet catch. I mean,
there's a couple things you can throw. Just doing like every historic receiver play ever. Just have him bring a Sharpie in his sock and just do the TO thing for the hell of it. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. So we'll see what happens with Keisha Butte out of LSU for sure. But yeah, not a great performance.
No,
I'm going to stick with the big schools here, and I'm going to go with the defensive back out of the University of Georgia, Kelee Ringo. Like, yeah, I mean, his numbers were not bad, but I think they needed to be a little bit better. So he ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, which is pretty good. He had a 33.5 vertical jump. Like, I mean, that's all right. And then his broad jump was 10 foot, 2 inches. So, I mean, it's not the best, but I think with the guy that came out of Georgia and him possibly being a first-round pick too, you expected those numbers to be a lot better, and they just weren't. And then as I was watching the position drills, he looked good, but not great. I think there's a couple times he stumbled. His, footwork looked like it was just off, just everything just looked a little off. Like, I don't know, like, once again, very similar to Andre Carter. Like, it's just like, did he not have enough time to practice, like, with these one-on-one drills or whatever, right? Before the whole combine happened? Like, I don't know what it was, but it's just like, from a guy who's being hailed as should be in that top 5 conversation for defensive backs, he didn't show it in this combine performance. So it's like he looked really rough. I think there's a lot of things he probably could have done a lot better. And especially you look at the season that he had, he played really well in 2022 with Georgia, obviously, but it's just like, yeah, to follow it up with this combine performance, I was a little bit worried about his stock. And I think it's going to take a little bit hit, especially when you have a guy like Deontay Banks who absolutely balled out. Like, this is going to shuffle things a little bit, right? So it's like, we'll see what happens to the pro day. I know he's talking about having just a very organized show for Sounds to make the prospects look good, but just, yeah, this sort of combine performance on a sort of national level, him not having a good performance definitely is going to affect his stock for sure.
No, it makes sense. So it's funny because I was shocked when I saw this guy on your list because I really like him. I think Ringo is amazing. I think I've already told this story of like I watched the national championship with my friends. I was like, I'm scared of QJ versus Quinn Johnson versus Ringo. My friends were like, yeah, we got it. Yeah, QJ had 1 catch for 3 yards. Yeah. So it was one of I really, really like Ringo, but that makes more sense because it's not so much that you're giving the arrow down if we're doing like the graphics part of it. It's just like that, the middle bar. Like he didn't do anything. And exactly like what you said, guys like Banks, they did. So it's like you didn't kill yourself, but like, dude, you probably caused yourself first round here. Because now I would be surprised because I do think a lot more teams are valuing Banks over Ringo now. Yeah. Which I'm very excited for because that means the Colts might land him in the second round. That'd be awesome. Dude, if he goes to the Colts, I mind that jersey right away. So, I do really still like Ringo as a player, but again, I kind of agree with you. If you don't blow it away at the combine while other players do well, it's nothing like you did wrong. It's just that other players outperformed you, and that's going to cost you some money. But I will say this, and so some people may be like, well, why go to the combine at all? Skipping the combine's a big red flag. Like, don't skip the combine. So, unfortunately, it's just one of those things like you had to kill it, and like you didn't do horribly, you didn't do great, and unfortunately it's just like you're just kind of stuck in the lingo. Now I will say this, limbo is what I meant to say, not lingo. I corrected myself. I saw your face.
I know, but still, dude.
I know. Now, I will say this. Another big thing, and unfortunately, this is why we don't talk about much because, it's in the name, private workouts.
Yeah.
If he kills in the private workouts, I could definitely see that kind of catapulting himself back into the first round. But, I mean, that's a big gamble. And it depends on how many teams are interested in the first place. So I think private workouts is his best bet going forward.
Yeah. And I think the big thing too is just like when you're at the combine, it's like I talked about, it's like with the tight ends. It's like I got to see Tucker Kraft followed it up by Zach Kuntz.
Yep.
So it's like this is the same thing here where it's like you're seeing these defensive backs go right after each other. So it's like you don't have to put on this tape and then all of a sudden switch it up, put on another tape. It's like you may forget some of the things that you see there, right? It's like you're seeing this directly. So it's like you said, it's like when you see Banks do so well, and all of a sudden, just a couple seconds later, you're seeing Ringo not do as well. It's like, okay, now I have a direct comparison right there, right there, live sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, he didn't do terrible, but it's just like compared to other guys, yeah, maybe he did. This sort of
That
thing.
looks good.
So,
yeah.
So we'll see. Like we sort of talked about, like we precluded this episode. It's just like, yeah, the combine, you take it with a little bit of grain of salt, but there's a lot of things that you can take away that could possibly hurt or help a player's stock as we now move into the pro day aspect of draft season. So, and like Tad said, each team can sort of bring in players for private workouts too. So we'll see how this all plays out. So we still got a lot more time before the actual NFL draft for these players to improve their stock or hurt their stock.
Real quick, because I mean, this kind of goes in what you were talking about. Like, lots of going to change. So I just want to do rapid fire with you. Okay, no analysis, just rapid fire. Geno Smith signing, grade it.
Not bad.
No, grade it.
Oh, on a actual grade, I'd probably say C+.
Oh, really? I give that B. Derek Carr.
Oh, I think that's absolute D. I already talked about
really?
the Saints. I don't like the Saints fit. They have a lot to work on, but like I said, we'll get to that later.
All right, C+. Anything else I'm missing on? But we need to touch on stuff like that real quick.
The release of Frank Clark, I think that's a pretty smart
move. Whoa, Frank Clark got released. I missed that.
God, well, of course. Kansas City Chiefs have moved on for Frank Clark. The Minnesota Vikings are going to be releasing Eric Kendricks in a cost-cutting move, who led the team in tackles. So I mean, that's a little bit surprising too, for sure. Derrick Henry on the trade block. Like,
I saw that.
That's going to be very interesting to see.
So yes, a lot is about to change on this landscape, which will affect a lot of draft stocks. Because let me tell you, 100%. If Derrick Henry gets traded, Bijan Robinson, buddy, welcome to Tennessee.
Exactly. And we're going to be getting into our free agency preview, which should be later this week. So we're going to touch on some of these things that we started to rapid fire right now, but we may get into it a little bit more depth in that episode. But just, yeah, the best way you can find out when that episode's going to be dropping, you see the social media handles coming through right now. You got my personal handle on Twitter, on the side 23. You got Tad's side 94. Got the show handle at the Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at the Decide Guys as well. And if you're listening to our podcast, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can listen right on the LAFB Network website as well. Just hit that subscribe button. Always be up to date with our podcast and when the next episode is going to be dropping. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or also subscribe subscribe to the LAFB Network's YouTube channel as well, because we have our playlist on there. So make sure you subscribe to both channels. Lots of great content, especially with free agency right around the corner. Lots of things to discuss and lots of great content coming your way. And I mean, guys, if you're supporting us in any sort of way, whether you're following us on Instagram, interacting with us, listening, watching, I mean, just anything and everything, guys. I mean, seriously, we can't thank you enough.
And hey, is there a combine guy that we didn't talk about that you want to hear our opinions on? Let us know. Hit us up at the handles that Amir just shouted out. I would love to talk about it. Amir and I mean, we're not lying, guys. We watched a lot of combine tape. It's honestly it's like borderline concerning.
Combine tape. I mean, we're heavy into it right now.
Oh God, the amount of tape I'm watching next week during spring break is going to be just ridiculous. So if you guys want to know our opinions on prospects, hit us up. We would love to talk about them. Or if it's a guy like Jake, the Old Dominion guy.
Oh, Zach Kuntz.
Damn it. So clearly, if there's a guy where you're like, Ted, oh God, it's Monday. Give me a break. If there's a guy that you're like, Tad, you need to check this guy out, or Murr, you need, I really want your opinion on this guy. Hit us up. We'll find it. We actually 100%. I won't give away any names, but we just found out we have a new pipeline of tape apparently to watch college games on. So we will have all that available for you, but you just need to ask so we know who to look out for to give you the information you want. Because if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no Decide Guys. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and please stay safe, everyone.